I fried my engine. I fried it. I ran it hot. I killed it. I was driving in a parade. It was summer. It was so hot, and I watched the gauge. I just watched the gauge. And why I didn't pull over, I'll never understand. I mean, it's one of the mistakes I've made, and I've made a few, but this one has really hurt. It has cost me a lot. My name is Star, and I own a classic car. I am going on my fourth engine. We have attempted to repair each one a 1962 engine. When you do get a hold of an engine like that, odds are it's damaged. I've had mechanics attempt to repair. It hasn't worked. I'm in a position of, do I say goodbye to this car that has become my motivation? Truly my motivation to go downstairs into the garage and clean it. Just cleaning it alone takes work. I am a retiree. I was walking across the street on PCH on a New Year's Eve, and a drunk driver hit me. I spent 18 days in the hospital, shattered my pelvis, and got absolutely nothing because he had basic liability insurance. So I'm grateful because I'm alive. The newspapers, they basically said, oh, she got thrown, 20, 30 feet, but she's fine. When you read those kind of articles, if anybody gets tossed like that, guaranteed the odds are they're not just fine. They've got some damage. And so my car has become my motivation to go downstairs, to clean the white walls, to clean the actual car itself, which when you're cleaning a classic car, you don't just take it to the car wash, you wipe it down with a wet towel, dry it, then you do the whack. It's a huge vehicle. Like it's like a boat. That is part of it. Next part, it's a convertible. So it's white. I have to keep that clean. Next part of it is the interior. It's all white. So I have to keep that clean. It's a job, it's a job that I signed up for. And I am incredibly grateful because it has been a motivating factor to keep me busy, to keep my mind. I mean, I'm retired. This is the third stage of life. First stage is youth. Second stage is family, career. The third stage, which is the one I'm at, it's pretty close to the end, you know? But what an ending. Like, what an ending to have this kind of a life where, as a woman, I'm driving this amazing car. Back in the day, as women, we were just looky-loos, we just passengers, we just sat in the car, and that was exciting. But to actually be in a generation, a historical turn, where women are now driving these classic cars in a kind of a man's world, I apologize, that we've invaded another area of yours, is amazing. I mean, it just like, oh my gosh, I love it. Not all women are, purchases of their car or maintain their car. Some of them have their husbands, and, my hat goes off to them. But when you're a woman like myself, who's actually doing the work and cleaning the car, and it's a lot. It's definitely a lot, but it's been a tremendous motivation for me. It has been a joy. The women, love seeing, I can be driving down PCH and women are amazed. It's just such a head turner. I'm from Los Angeles originally, born and raised in East LA. I went through the whole scene of LA. the car scene, the bike scene, the gang scene, all of it. Fortunately, I moved out and got into a career in the legal field. I started off as a receptionist and promoted to a legal assistant, moved out into South Orange County, and began managing a law firm. I was a paralegal first with that firm and then became the manager. So I'm familiar with the legal system. I'm about to sue one of these mechanics. I have had such a complicated time with the mechanics. Everyone acts like, oh, they want to help me, and at the end of the day, they've taken my money. And like the first mechanic who pleaded with me to get the job. You know, he had his friends calling me. They were texting me. He was like, oh, I want it because we had a mutual friend that I purchased the car from. So I gave him the job. And once the job was completed, I drove off in the car and I felt okay. I was like, okay. But I wasn't sure I was just happy to have the car back. So as I was driving, I drove it a couple more times. I started noticing like it was idling kind of high and it was vibrating and it just wasn't, something was wrong. So I called him up and I said, hey, the car's kind of doing this, you know, can you take a look at it? And his response was, oh yeah, you know, I'm not going to be doing the cars anymore. You know, it's a lot and, you know, I don't have a whole lot of room in my, you know, to park them and to work on them and just all these excuses. And I really believed when he took on the job that he was going to become my mechanic. And when he said that, I was like, okay, well, he's like, why don't you just go see, you know, your buddies in Santa Ana? I'm sure they could fix it. It's not a big deal. And I was like, okay. So, you know, I took it for what it was and I just wanted to get my car fixed. I took it to Santa Ana and they messed with the carburetor and I drove home and something still wasn't right. So I made a phone call. I contacted this guy out here and I took the car to him and, you know, he said, well, let me have the car for, you know, a little bit and let me see what I can do. So I decided to do that, and I get a phone call from him and the crying because apparently the car was a catastrophe, which I think in the car world that means it's dead. The engine's done. So this poor guy was so broken. I mean, he was just devastated to tell me. And I mean, it's horrible news. So I called the original person because everybody around me was saying, "Hey, he's got to, you know, do something here because it, you know, it falls back on him." I call him up and he's like right away, "Well, you took it to another mechanic." And I'm like, "Well, I took it to another mechanic because you weren't available to me. You pretty much made me take it to a mechanic." Click. Oh, I get it. That's why you made me take it to another mechanic, so you could say this, right? So I take the car to him because then he says, well, I just happen to be purchasing another engine that fits your car tomorrow. And I'm thinking, what a miracle, right? Oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. So I take the car to him, towed, mind you, because now at this point the car is not driving anywhere. It's got to get towed. He removes the engine, puts this other engine that he bought in Riverside off some car guy had a bunch of car parts outside. I'm pretty sure he wasn't real sure about the engine because immediately after we got into an argument over how much it was going to cost. It was like and then he said, I'm not going to do the job. I'm just not going to do it. Like, I can't do it. Well, looking back, I realized he just he knew that that engine wasn't going to be right. So he didn't want any part of it. He wanted to just walk away. And he did. He did. I ended up taking it to another mechanic who really doesn't work as a mechanic, but he wanted to help me out of a bind, and he did an amazing job. He got the car going. I was able to take it to some events that I really wanted to go to. And then one day I was driving home, and because the car was running, it was doing just fine, except it was smoking like a crackhead, is what I would say. It was smoking, and I was constantly having to put oil in it because it was just burning the oil. Well, I thought the engine was done. You know, when I brought it home, it died in my garage. I figured, okay, that's it. It's over. So I started putting the feelers out. I need another engine. I need another engine. And a friend of mine hooked me up and got me an engine. And the next step was to have someone put the engine in. Well, I had a good friend. Another one, said, let me do the job, let me do the job. And my whole thing was, okay, because I know his work, he's like overly like he wants to fix everything, including like a defrost thing, whatever. Anyway, I really didn't want him to do it, but I was in that position of needing it done. So I made clear, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to take the engine out and put the other engine in. No other things done. Just that. And I mean, I can't even explain how many times I said that. Text, telephone, and in person. Well, he didn't listen. He didn't listen. So we get the heads done because he's like harassing me, calling me constantly on the phone, like telling me at one point, like 4 days after he got the car, he's like, well, why don't you just come and pick up the car? And I'm like, these guys, I have AAA to go and tow the car. Thank God for AAA. So of course I just, okay, fine. We'll do the heads. Even though I had great feeling about the engine because the person that I got the engine from made it real clear this engine was good. So wanting to do all these extra things, I couldn't do because I can't afford it. Financially, it was just too much money. As he's taking apart the engine, which I'm not wanting him to do at all, he breaks the bolt. Okay? He breaks the bolt and it goes into the engine. So now I have another engine that is catastrophe. I am like beside myself because I've already paid him. I mean, I paid him, and the engine's not out. The other engine's not in. Like nothing happened except I lost money. That's all that happened. I lost money. It's a miracle. Like the day that I picked up the car from the bad mechanic, which I've had two mechanics that I could just, yeah, God help me. I'm a hot-headed woman. I mean, I'm from LA. I've got that whole vibe, but I've come a long way. I've grown up, I've matured, and the way I handle things now is legally. So I am taking him to small claims, and because of my history in the legal field, I'm going to do what I can to make a statement because what he did was wrong. Like it was so wrong on so many levels. He knew exactly where my budget was. He knew exactly what I needed done, and he ignored every part of what I asked for. I've really been wanting to make a YouTube channel. I just didn't know what niche I was going to come in through. I'm a retiree, I'm a paralegal, I'm a woman, like which niche, the car. There's so many things. I even thought about coming in under mistakes that I've made because there's been a few. So some of these subjects I will make a video on. One video I watched that really motivated me. I am going to include him in my video because he motivated me on such a level to post this. He said, look, how many of us spend so much time overanalyzing the outcome of everything, trying to figure out how is it going to come out, how, and stressing over the outcome. And he said, at this point, forget about the outcome. Work on the steps that get you the outcome, and the outcome will come. He says it a whole lot better than I say it, and that's why I want to include him in my video, because it got me here. It got me to a point where I'm ready to do the YouTube video, and I'm hoping to build a community. One thing about videos that I just get bugged by is that they always say like the video at the very end. And sometimes I really do want to like it, but they say it at the very end. So I'm like trying to, and then the video goes off. I mean, just like life. YouTube just pushes forward like I'm trying to do. So welcome. Come on in. My name is Star. And yes, it's my real name. So come along. You are the next contestant on If You Know, You Know.